All right, guys, go ahead and get started. So this class is going to be on how to make ISK, particularly doing mining and moon mining in particular, how to use buybacks, what ore is good, which ones to mine first, how to fly your venture, bookmarks you should have, and other things like that. So if you are in GEHAV and you have a venture, go ahead or procure, go ahead and undock, and we're going to fly over to my moon, and I'll show you the moon asteroid belt that I exploded yesterday.
Is this your moon mining class?
Yes. You coming, Rays?
Oh, I'm just mining. I'm just like, well, I'm here to learn anything I don't even already know. So
Yeah, this is targeted for people who don't know how to use buybacks, don't really know about the different ores, and haven't mined before. So free to listen.
well, I mean, there's that, but I was gonna ask if you knew about reprocessing moon ore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll wait to ask that after you've kind of gone over the basics.
All right, sounds good. So Sprix, I think it's you and me on the undock. So my moon is in 3 Techo, so go ahead and align to 3 Techo. Warp yourself there. Just warp to 0 is fine. So each of the moons, the Alliance has a lot of moons, and I'll give you a website that'll tell you when each one is ready to pop and available to mine. And then some people have rented moons. So this one I've actually rented, and you pay ISK, and then you to the Alliance for the right to have the moon, and then you can moon it. You can mine it all by yourself if you want, but I share mine, and it's a good time for me to run my class. So we're going to once you're in through Deco, we're going to the rented by Jinx Athanor. So the Athanor is the structure used to mine a moon.
For that website, can you link it into Alliance?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I just linked this is an Athanor, so this is the structure used for mining moons, and the Alliance has a lot of them. And so go to that website, the goo.bravecollective timers. You'll have to log in with single sign-in. And what it tells you is every moon, when it's going to pop. Sometimes if they don't pop right then at the time, they'll pop within 3 hours of that, because someone actually has to push the button that makes the large asteroid explode, and then it's free to mine. And if someone doesn't push the button, it'll explode by itself 3 hours after that. But it's kind of within that windows. The moon belts last for 48 hours. So if you see the old timer that's grayed out once you get logged in, you'll know that you could still go there and there'd probably still be ore left over. So let's go back to my Athanor. So if you are just there, go ahead and dock up. And once you've docked, go ahead and undock, and we're going to make a bookmark, and you should do this for each Athanor that you mine at, the first thing you do. So when you undock, control space, and then go ahead and do Control B and make a bookmark. I usually name it doc and then the Athenor's name. So like this would be like Doc Jinx's Athenor. So when this dock point, this is where you're gonna, the asteroid belt is within, it's like 190 kilometers, but if you're there, you can't just warp to 0 to the Athenor. It's too close. The dock range is too close, but this bookmark you'll be able to warp to. So this is key for two things. One, when you're trying to drop off ore, you're just going to drop it off in the Athenor. And two, if there's newts or bad guys on field, then you can warp to this this bookmark, and you'll be safe. So if you don't already have a mining tab in your overview, you're going to need to set one up. So let me walk through those steps. So if you have the ZS overview, you go to the plus tab, type in, hit plus, it'll say type in a label and put in mining. And then on overview settings, you hit the hamburger menu, the top left, open overview settings. And then on your new tab, instead of saying general, so this is on the overview tabs, you scroll down and it says mining, and you'll change the general with the little drop down, change that to the mining one. So that will add only asteroids and asteroid belts. So once you've done that, another thing I like to do with mining is you should be able to see a Upwell moon mining beacon right next to the Athenor. It looks like a little triangle with an eye on top. You might have to I think on the mining tab you should be able to see it. Yeah. So that's a good one to have even on your combat tab. So I actually right click that and add moon mining beacon to overview, because that's something you can warp to as well. All right, does anyone have any issues with the mining overview? All right, sounds good. So the next thing we have to do is we have to decide what to mine. So I usually sort by name, and for the moon mining, there's moon goo ore, and then there's just regular ore. And so I'm going to give you another website that tells you which things are the most valuable. So once you go to this website, you'll want to scroll all the way to the right. This website, for those just listening, is the fuzzworks.co.uk/or/full. So if you Google Fuzzworks and or, you should be able to find it. The original sort is not on. You want to put it onto ISK M3, and you want to put the highest first. So that's the second to last row. I think you have to hit it twice. And when you do that, shining, and go back to the left, shining Xenotime should be at the top. So these are the names you want to learn, and particularly if you just want to do mining as a part-time thing, you want to know Xenotime, Loperite, and Monazite, as those are the most valuable. And any kind of adjective that you see in an ore's name, like bountiful or glowing or shining, those mean they're more valuable. So if you have the option to mine Xenotime, bountiful Xenotime, or shining Xenotime, even without coming back to this website, you want to pick one of the ones with the adjective. But the best is shining. You probably should remember that, because it's twice as good as regular Xenotime, which is already way better than any other ore. Well, and that's true for Loperite and Monazite too. So my moon does not have that valuable of ore, unfortunately. That'd be really expensive. So I have spherulite. So you have to scroll down, and so lavish spherulite is one of the adjectives, and there was a little bit yesterday, but that's all gone now. So you go down and you can see spherulite. So that's my most valuable that I have. So we're gonna go mine a little bit of that right now. So go in game, sort your mining tab by name, find a spherulite asteroid, and go ahead and warp to that.
I didn't think you could warp to direct or asteroids. I thought you had to warp to people or to bookmarks.
Yep. You can go straight to the asteroids, and so that's one thing that makes mining with newts a little bit interesting is they can warp there too. Speaking of which, while you're mining, you should be checking local. So right now local is clear of any kind of neutrals. So go ahead and activate your miners on the spherulite.
I mean, you can warp to the asteroid field, but I think you warp to asteroids directly.
Yeah, you can just right click and warp to 0 on them.
Maybe there's something screwed up my overview. I have the old overview set of system.
So typically if you're in a belt, like if you go to a regular asteroid belt, you would already be within 150 kilometers of them, so then you could not warp to them. But if you're on the Athenor and you're more than 150 kilometers from the asteroid, you'll be able to warp to it. So the next question is, what do we do with this spherulite once we mine it? So let me give you another website. So this is right now, this is the Sanchita space buyback, and Sancha did just leave, but the buyback lives on as the, just a second, change their names. It's the Alvetis Innovations, and they promised me they'll have a new website soon. But what you can do here is you can put in all the ore that you mine into their, you copy paste it when you're in list mode, which we'll practice. But you can type in just one spherulite. Try that. And that'll tell you how much one is worth in ISK. So if you sell to the Alvatis Innovations, or you can sell to Runkrinkle, who one of Dunk's alts, or for my moon, I ask you to sell to me for the same price, and so then I can have the ore. And so for one spherulite, you get 4,639 ISK. So that's pretty good for moon ore. But to compare, you can do the same thing and type in one xenotime.
What are these prices like compared to, like, say, the markets in Jita or GE or whatever?
So Jita actually won't have these because they're really big, and so it's too much of a pain to transport these to Jita. The Sancha buyback website does actually list what they are in Jita, but those prices can be a little bit hokey because it's such a pain to transport them. So what the Sancha website's doing is they're actually taking the raw materials that you get out of the ore and then calculating the price of the ore based on that. That's a good question.
Cheers. With these new moon materials, can you compress them like normal asteroid rocks?
No, so they really want you to refine them in place and then transport the reaction materials after that. So I just linked another Sancha buyback link, and that one I included the spherulite loperite and zenotime. So you can see that if you hear a moon has loperite or zenotime, those are worth 3 times what spherulite is. And spherulite's already, a few months ago, there was no moon mining for the typical line member. So spherulite would have been good at the time, and zenotime and loperite are just way better mining than a typical line member had access to before. So those are always worth doing. All right, so we have about 100. So I want us to go mine something else, just to show an example of how to compress ore. So since we're in Ventures here, just find the closest flawless Arcanor rock and fly to that. So Arcanor, in typical mining, if you're in an asteroid belt or a moon, a regular mining anomaly, not a moon, Arcanor is the usually the highest price. If you're going to sell the ore for money, then Arcanor is the best. So flawless Arcanor, you can only get in moons, and it's about 15% better than just regular Arcanor. So one thing about mining in a moon that I haven't told you is that mining in any moon in Brave you'll be taxed at 7% of the worth of the goo that you get. So at the beginning of the week on Monday, you'll get an email or email and says, "Here's your tax bill. Please pay it." And so what you'll do is they'll give you a value, and you right click and give money to the Brave Pos Boys at 7% value. But with the high value of these ores, it's still worth doing, even though that's a small tax. It's like the ratting tax. Okay, so we're gonna go for 100 flawless Arcanor, so I can show you how to compress. So compression. So Arcanor is a regular ore. The other good regular ores are Bistot, Crocite, Gneiss, and Spodumene. So in my moon, you can see I have Arcanor and Spodumene. Particularly for local manufacturing, spodumene is really good because it has lots of tritanium. So if you're trying to make battleships or battle cruisers, you need a lot of that. So, and I buy the Arc or Spod, the Flawless Arcanor, or the Dazzling Spodumene at G to buy. Right now, the market for these is a little uncertain. So there are some ore buybacks that if you're in a regular mining anomaly, you can sell to them at G to sell. But until these markets settle out, they're not buying those. But I think the other buybacks will buy them at 90% G to buy. And that's the buyback and Alvatus Innovations. Dunk does not buy the regular ore. So mining in a venture, if you like mining and you're Omega, you should try to get a procurer very soon. But even if you're in alpha, if you can get to the higher end moon mining, that's really good ISK per hour. We just had some rats or NPCs come into the asteroid belt. So typically we'll have the procurers will have drones, and they'll stick them on the drone on the rats. So it helps if you're in a venture to go ahead and orbit the rock just to help.
What do we do if we're like mining adventures? Do we just have to run away and get a bigger ship, or can adventures tank them or kill them or what?
You can usually speed tank okay. So one thing about mining also is that it scales really well with alts. So if you get into it, you can see I have my main on field as well. So I'm going to warp down and fight the rats for us.
Or would you say it's more profitable mining moons for a new guy, or like because I'm in a I've got not a Vexor Navy issue, the normal one, a Vexor. I'm ratting in that at the moment, but I've only got a Venture for mining.
So with just the Venture versus the Vexor Nubro, it's probably the Vexor Nubro, except for I'd have to run the numbers, but I think the Xenotime, Loprite, and Monazite, it would probably be close. And particularly if it's the Shining, which is called a jackpot, then that would be, I would say, more money. I should run those numbers sometime. The other thing is, like, I do not like ratting other than killing the ones that come in the asteroid belts. It's just not my style. I like mining. I like hanging out on comms or sometimes even Netflixing while mining. So if you don't like ratting, then mining's a good option too. The most important thing about making a skin null sec is have fun. Don't do something that you hate.
Yeah, I'm sort of quite enjoying it. It's a bit more relaxed than ratting. I think you just sort of keep an eye on local and the rats and watch a film or something, which is good.
Right.
Yeah, just a line out if you see anybody in local.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, like, if you see someone come into local right now, you can align to your to that bookmark that you made earlier, or you can just align to the Athenor and then go ahead and just warp to the bookmark. And sometimes, particularly with the more valuable moon ores, there'll be enough. If there's enough procurers on field, they have to bring a pretty big gang for you to hurt the procurer. So it's almost better to stay on field at that point and fight together. But it has to be a critical mass. You want to see 5 or 6 and make sure people are active and not AFK.
And then whenever everybody wants to warp off, you warp together instead of leaving somebody behind.
See that? Sorry about all these questions.
No, that's what the class is for.
That first website you gave with all the moon timers on it, are we allowed to go to any of those, or are some of these like private and we're not allowed to go near them, or what?
So typically, you mean for the moons?
Yeah.
So you see the other one in system rented by Peter Griffin. So if someone's renting it, they can kick you out if they're there, and they tell you, please don't mine in my moon. Now, like mine, and I think even Peter Griffin, we're fine if you mine. I can't mine all this. I bought it more to help other people, and so I can see a moon explosion happen. It's pretty awesome. So you can see, speaking of the moon explosion, if you look at the moon, there is an asteroid that is very close. So because I blew it up yesterday, and it's going to tractor beam that up. And as it gets closer and closer to the Athenor, that kind of gives you a relative time to when the next asteroid field is going to occur. So this mine is set for next Thursday. So if you're on next Thursday, you can come mine again. And if you're on at 8:30, sorry, that's East Coast time, so that's 1:30 Eve time, then you can see it explode too. Are you getting close to 100 Arcanor?
Yeah, 98.
Okay, so my tip for if you're mining the really nice stuff like the Shining Loperite, so you'll probably be mining with a lot of other people. And so the rocks tend to disappear really fast. And you don't pull any ore until the very end of your cycle. So if you're worried about the rock disappearing, which on really shining stuff you might, you can short cycle your miners and then make sure that you grab a little bit at a time. They probably don't want me teaching you that, but I'm teaching you anyway. Okay, you should have about 100 Arcanor now. So let's warp to our bookmark and go ahead and go into the Athanor.
See if we're mining in a group, what's the sort of protocol with like a rock? Like, is it for one person per rock, or can you share a rock, or what?
So particularly in the moon mining, it's kind of everybody for themselves. If you can, if there are lots of other rocks, it's nice to go to another one. I just broke that rule myself on somebody else's, just because it was convenient. But it's my moon. But particularly if you're mining in an anomaly with a Rorqual, which is the biggest mining ships, they prefer you do not mine with them.
Right, okay.
But in Brave, there's not like hard rules about that. But the Rorqual will be providing you boosts that will make you mine faster. So it's generally nice to be nice to those guys. Okay, are you in stations, Bricks?
Yeah.
Okay, so drag your ore into your item hanger. Let me know when you've done that.
Yeah, done that.
And so on the Flawless Arcanor, go ahead and right-click on it. And you should see Compress. It should be under Add to Market Quick Bar. So not all Athanors have this. So one nice thing, I'm paying a little bit extra and it costs fuel for the service, but you can compress this here. So compress it, and then you should have one compressed Flawless Arcanor.
Yeah, got that.
Yeah, and if you try to do that to your Sperry Light, that's not an option. So if you wanted to keep your ore, compressing it makes it very small. So then you could mine for a long time and then transport all of it in your venture in the ore hold. But I'm just going to show you show you how to make a contract and sell this. All right, I'm going to let Rihan do it with a YouTube I just linked, and then I'll show you how to get the. I'll make a quote for just the moon ore because he does not buy the moon ore, and then show you how to make a contract to me, and I'll buy it from you. All right, are you done with the YouTube?
Yeah.
All right, so first thing in your item hanger, go ahead and you need to go to list view, which is on the item hanger. It's the far right. It says list. So there's icons, details, and list just under the X. So once you're in list view, that lets you copy and paste. It's a nice thing to know how to do for buybacks. Go ahead and select just the compressed Flawless Arcanor and the Sperry Light. Go to the Zancha buyback website.
So what was it? The compressed flawless and the spare light?
Yes.
Right, okay, got you.
All right, so once you paste it into the buyback, it should look something like that. Linked it in fleet. So if you sell directly to Zancha, this is what they'll pay for it. The bold numbers on the right. So it's the 510, 470 for 110 spare light, in my case, and 447 for one compressed flawless Arcanor. I'm going to buy the compressed flawless Arcanor at the G to buy number. So that's the 497, 185. So you can add, you add the 5, and I'm also going to buy the spare light at their number. So add the 510, 497, and then create a contract to me and say that I'll pay that much, and then I'll accept the contract, and you get ISK.
I think I'm a little bit lost. So you just basically add the two numbers in bold up, and then you just make a contract for that.
So if you're just doing just as Ancha, the bold ones are their price, and I'd accept that too, but I'm trying to give you more ISK. You can actually see they have the Zancha buyback value, and it says 957,936. You could copy that, put that in the contract, and sell it. So that's the easiest thing to do. But you could add another 50,000 ISK to that, and that's what I'd pay, just based on the G to buy value. So I'm paying more for the compressed flawless Arcanor because that's I want that.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
So then beyond that, the things you can do with Moon Ore is reactions. I'm not really going to go into that, but if you wanted to reprocess it for reactions, that's how you make T2 materials. You can hit reprocess on the spare light in the Athanor, and it'll show you some of the materials that it comes up with. So the spare light makes platinum and evaporative deposits, and then use reactions to make those into T2 material, but that's why these are called goo. If reprocessed in my Athanor, you will not get very good reprocessing. So it's better to take them to Dunk's Fine Refinery in GEHAV. You can also, if you don't have perfect skills, Al Hemer, and I'll link his name, he has perfect skills, and he just takes a 2% cut, which is, it would take months to get to the same skills as he has. So it's usually worth just contracting him the materials and getting the raw materials back.
I'll set up a contract to you. I think that's right. I just copied that Sancho buyback value. It's easy.
Yep. So you got ISK. So that is the basics of moon mining. Sometimes they get pinged, but not always. So if you want to mine in the moons, it's best to look, either just check those goo timers occasionally. If you cross-references it to the wiki, which I'll find that website, you can see which moons have which ore. So if you were able to, and you say, oh, well, that Xenotime moon is coming out next Friday, I'm going to go do that. Let me get that list.
Do you have a website that shows the breakdown, what breaks down into what for T2?
No, but maybe I can find it.
Okay. Somebody call it T2.
You're saying which ores have which reaction materials?
Right, the breakdown into what T2?
Okay, look at this one. That's the Fuzzworks website. That tells you what goo comes out of each ore, and then I'm sure there's another website that tells you which goo reacts into the T2 materials. I think Fuzzworks has that.
Did you link that in Alliance? I don't see it.
No. There you go.
Thanks.
And for the listeners, I realize there's a lot of links that are not included, and I'll try to put those in the wiki description page.
Do you run do you run like the IT
I do
bit
not.
for the IT team?
I'm in the Dojo program, and so I can edit the wiki.
I was going to say, is there any way of getting like a tab or something for the extraction timers to see which of the moons are public or private? It's because I think you have to look at the actual.
So any of them on the Goo timer are public.
All right, okay. So I can go to any of these then?
Yes. Yeah. And anytime, typically on Wednesdays or Thursdays, you can mine in mine as well. I do ask you to sell to me when you're mining in my moon.
Do you want the non-moon ores too, like spodumene and stuff?
Yeah, compress it first, and then I'll buy those at G2Buy.
Roger that.
So are there any other questions? I am trying to get that structures website, but I didn't have it.
You can also search the structures based off of your dropdown.
I found it. Okay, so what I really wanted to find was moons and what they're hiding. So let me link this. So if you scroll down to moons and what they're hiding, it's about 2/3 the way down. The ones that are really good, that I would say if you see that they're open, you should go to, are in 4M. There's Brave Charlie Second Castle, it has Loperite. In 68 FT, there's Brave, oh my god, it's a Scordaton, has Loperite. Iterbite is also really good, just not as good as Xenotime. Brave Angle Stronghold has Xenotime. Monazite in 99 SRF. Monazite in AOK. E3 has Xenotime. And you can tell the ore 1 or 2, that's the amount of ore that is in the moon. So like on YHN, Brave, Drildo, McCrabby's Resort has Loperite, and that's listed first. So that means it's going to have a lot of Loperite. Like my moon has Arcanor first, so that's why you look around and there's a lot of Arcanor rocks. So I think that is all the material I have. Does anyone have any other questions? I didn't really cover mining in anomalies, but that's not happening as much anymore. In Impasse, if you're in 9Z, that's where you can find some anomalies. Basically there, you'd go to your probe scanner and open it, and instead of seeing all the ratting sites, you'd see medium asteroid belt or large or huge. And when you're in those, you want to be mining the ABCs, Arcanor, Bistot, Crocite, Nice, and Spodumene. If anyone's interested, we could go look at a regular asteroid belt here in 3TAC-0, but with the moon mining available most of the time, it's almost not worth it.
Pretty sure this has been answered before, but where are the moon timers kept?
That's the Goo Timer website. I'll link it again.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for now.